Welcome to Learning to Glow, a show about wellness, skin health, and self-development. I'm your host, Jess. I'm a mom, entrepreneur, and skincare expert. I'm so excited to share tips on how to achieve healthy skin and bring amazing guests in the field of health, fitness, aging gracefully, and personal growth. Let's explore all different ways we can take care of ourselves as women, both inside and out, to truly shine. So let's get glowing. Hi, everyone. Welcome to our show this week. So happy you're here. I really loved this episode that we have for you today. We have guest SuzE Q, and she shares with us her amazing story from her distinguished career as a professional dancer and choreographer in Hollywood. She's worked with people like Madonna, Pink, Justin Timberlake, and the Black Eyed Peas. She now coaches with her holistic approach, combining elements of yoga, meditation, dance, EFT, which is emotional freedom technique, hypnosis, sound healing, and other modalities to empower her clients on their journey to live authentically into the highest version of themselves. This was so much fun recording this episode. I loved it. She shared how entering the world of yoga and meditation helped her growth and mindset in really powerful ways. We talked about vibration and frequency, which was super interesting. Really inspiring takeaways from her years of experience in these high pressure work environments and her desire to keep learning and growing. We even talked about plants at the end. Make sure to stay till the end to listen to that. It is so interesting about frequency and just so many different things, like pieces of science, how frequency work, how vibration works. It's how it's all connected. So it's just really, really fascinating and just a really fun conversation. You can find SuzE Q if you go to my show notes. All of her information will be there. She has this free wellness bundle on her website, which comes with a free Kundalini yoga session and an interview and something else. I just got mine. I loved it. So it's easy to sign up. Go and click the link and then it automatically gets sent to your inbox. Please send this to a friend who you think would enjoy it. If you haven't already left us a 5-star review, I would be so grateful if you could do that. Help us with that. It just helps get the word out so that more women can find us. And thank you. Thank you in advance. Please enjoy today's episode. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Learning to Glow podcast. Today we have a special guest, SuzE Q. Welcome to our show.
Thanks so much for having me. I'm so happy to be here.
So happy. We've known each other for at least a year at this point, and this is the first time you're coming onto the show. So I am so excited for so many reasons, but we're going to talk about something that we've never talked about on the podcast before. I want to talk about, before we get into, we're going to talk about frequency, and you're going to be educating me along with our guests today, because this is new for me as well. But before we get into that, if you could just tell us a little bit about you.
Sure. So as you said, my name is SuzE Q, and I actually came to that name through the entertainment industry. My name is Suzanne, but my grandpa used to always call me SuzE Q.
Aww.
And my last name is French, so it's not pronounced the way it is spelled. And when I got into the entertainment industry, I was just like, okay, I need something catchy that I don't have to explain to people. And SuzE Q is what came of that. And I had a long career in the entertainment industry, and I still do some work, which is super fun. I was a dancer and choreographer, director, and even produced some videos and shows. So it's really, my history is really fun. I got to tour the world dancing with superstars. I toured with the Black Eyed Peas. I worked with Madonna, Pink, Rihanna, Justin Timberlake, and more. And I feel so grateful that I was able to have that experience. And it was a dream of mine, right? Like, I was a little girl dreaming about and wanting to be a professional dancer. And of course, people were like, oh, pick a real job. You can't, it's too competitive and unstable, which that's pretty accurate. It's competitive and unstable. And against all odds, I went ahead and did it anyway and got to have my dream. And I feel like doing that really supported like my growth into what I do now. Yeah, which is holistic coaching. So, yeah, I found yoga, specifically Kundalini yoga, at a very young age at 23. And it gave me the opportunity to have a really grounded foundation moving through the entertainment industry, knowing that my self-worth has nothing to do with whether I get the job or not, that it is intrinsic. And so that really supported me. And then that just opened the doors to so many other holistic modalities, meditation, EFT, which is emotional freedom technique, otherwise known as tapping, hypnosis, and then dance is its own holistic healing practice in its own. So that's a little bit about me. That's the tip of the iceberg.
Oh, I mean, I wonder if you could share with us some names that we would actually that we've actually heard of, like in the industry. God, I cannot believe you've worked with the biggest like superstars. That is so cool. And I didn't know that story about your name. That's so sweet. I love that. So I love that you found something so young, like finding yoga at that age at 23 and having that with you, because, and especially now we hear about how insane the entertainment industry can be, and how probably, traumatic is a good word if you really think about what sometimes what happens and how you can get swept up in like, just, it's a whole different world. And to have something like Kundalini yoga and to be it sounds like very grounded while you're doing this thing that you love in an industry that could be a little chaotic. I think that's so amazing. I'd love to hear more about that. Like when you found the yoga and you were in the entertainment industry, is that just something that was like foundational in your day as well? Because I can imagine you're dancing. That's so physical. And it's so like, I'm sure it's so time consuming. Like how did you find that and do your dancing job?
Well, you really hit the nail on the head when you were talking about how you can get swept up in the entertainment industry. And I was partying a lot. I was partying a lot, and when I found yoga, it really supported me in shifting that, because I realized that through your breath, you can achieve these altered states that I was achieving through substances. And I wouldn't trade my drug use for the world. It really opened up my mind and opened up perspectives for me that weren't there before. However, it's not sustainable. It's just not for your body, and I plan to be on planet Earth like uh, into like my hundreds, right? So if I'm going to do that, then I need to take care of my body. And the way it was easy for me to integrate, like going to a yoga class was like going to a dance class for me. And I was very, very physical. I've always been very physical. Probably the last five years is the least physical I've been, which is kind of strange for me. However, it was very easily integrated into my practice, into my routine. And what I really, really love too is that yoga and meditation go right together, hand in hand. And yoga is, there's movement, right? And especially in Kundalini yoga, which right now there's quite a bit of controversy around, but the practice, it's like you have to look past the man, past the guru, right? And look into the practice and how the practice has really served people and worked for people. So in Kundalini, there's actually a lot of aerobic and repetitive movement as well that can take you into that meditative space that's beyond your thinking mind, right? And so with the yoga and meditation, it goes hand in hand. And for me, because I was always such a mover and a shaker, the sitting still was such a new practice. It was such a new practice, and it was challenging, really challenging at times. But coupling it with the physical movement, especially before I meditate, even now in the mornings when I meditate, I'll do some physical movement first so that I can kind of get the body amped and going, so that then when I go to be still, everything can just settle. And I do want to share this too. So I never had a regular job. I always was dancing, doing something in the arts. I'd say my regular job was teaching dance. I taught dance to kids and adults while I was having my professional dance career. But another thing that I did on the side was I art modeled. And you have to be still when you art model. And so that was that was like in the beginning of my meditation practice. I would bring my meditation practice into my art modeling situations where I had to be still sometimes for up to 20 minutes. No movement.
That's tough.
Yeah. So that's a little bit about how the yoga fit in and how the meditation really fit in and how it served me in my work.
I've never really heard that before, of like getting some movement in and then doing your meditation. That makes so much sense to me, because like in my brain and like how I've heard things, it's like I wake up and meditation is first. But I like the idea of it's almost like getting the wiggles out, and like then
Mm-hmm.
really being able to sit, and I like what you were saying too about Kundalini. I've done Kundalini, and it's tough. Like it's a mind body experience. And I'd love to talk a little bit about breath work too, because I feel that's such a big part of the Kundalini that I've had. And you were saying that you could, some of those experiences that you had with drugs, and how you could get similar types of, your brain is altered really when you do. Were you talking about the Kundalini or the breath work?
Well, I mean, Kundalini is the breath. I mean, it's all intertwined, right?
Sure.
So, yeah, and it's funny because now people are like, "Oh, do you do breath work?" And I'm like, "Yes." I mean, I'm not certified in whatever breath work, but like I am certified in Kundalini, and we do like tons of pranayam, tons of breath work. And yes, that was through, but it's all tied together because you're moving and you're breathing, and it's all happening, right? But yes, that was the doorway to me really understanding that you don't need something outside of yourself. You can use your breath. You can use your breath to open up these gates to different dimensions, different realms, different levels of awareness and consciousness.
Oh, I love that. So when you were doing, like before you would do a show or something, when you were dancing, did you do some meditations or breath work before? Or like I've seen people get quiet and like pray, or, like when you see behind the scenes of different shows and things like that, did you have a practice that you did, alone before you went? And did you get like, was it nerves, or was it just like second nature at that point?
Yeah, it really would depend on the job or the show, and the stakes too, right? Like sometimes the stakes are really high. And on those ones where the stakes are really high, yeah, there's more nerves. But I love the perspective that nervousness and excitement are two sides of the same coin. So when you have the nerves come up, some people get like anxious about it. Like, and so what I do is I would go, okay, like I could feed the anxious or I could feed the excitement, and I heard a TED talk. I don't remember who it was. I think it was a woman, but she talked about how you do build up like these nerves, especially like with public speaking, because you're about to meet a like a bunch of energy, because you are a mirror to all the energy that's out there. So yeah, there's going to be like a surge of energy within you that is preparing you to be able to project out and meet that energy from the crowd. So with dance and performance, I feel like that's the very similar, where you are preparing and you have this energy inside of you that is ready to meet the expectations even of the audience.
I mean, I agree with you. Like, even because I've done some public speaking, even in my old corporate job, where I would be a trainer for a lot of people. Just, I'm like, I've done this so many times, but I'd still get nervous. And I think it is what am I, who am I going to come up against? Like, what energy is such a good word for it. Like, what energies am I going to output, and what am I going to receive, and how is it going to go? And I know my material. So when you know your stuff, like that takes a lot of the pressure off. But yeah, like dealing with maybe some of those nerves. And I love also the reframe of like, it could be nervousness, and that could freak me out, or it could be like, this is exciting. Like that's, I feel like, a mindset kind of
Yeah.
tack there. But yeah, did you use any tools like before shows and things like that?
Yeah, I definitely would do visualization.
Okay.
Visualization was like being quiet and visualizing me doing the performance, like I think they call it mental rehearsal
Mm-hmm.
with athletes, and dancers are athletes. I think it was Einstein that said dancers are the athletes of God. And I feel that because when I dance, it is like this direct channel with divine expression. It's like a divine expression that I do. I mean, even twerking, right? Not that I'm good at twerking, but it's like it's so funny because there's so many levels of everything, and even artistic expression. From the divine to the, what's the word I want to use? We could even say grotesque. Like it's all there, right? And I don't know. That's just a funny thing that I thought about.
I love that. My son and I talk about that with athletes, and he's an athlete. He does baseball, and talking about the tools that the biggest, most successful athletes use, and visualization is like one of the top ones. I feel like that they use. I think that's a tool that is so amazing. So when you were, go ahead.
I do want to say one more
Sure.
thing. Another pre-show, what would you call that?
Ritual.
Thank you. Yes. Another pre-show ritual usually is with the cast coming together
Yeah.
and having a moment and speaking some words of gratitude and appreciation for the cast. Especially when I was choreographing and I was, not going to be on stage and they were going to be on stage, really just letting them know how much I appreciate them and trust them, and that they were chosen for this job because of their dedication and their talent and their craft that they've been working on all these years. So I get a little teary-eyed when I think about, the performers and just how beautiful it is that they're like giving their whole selves. It's like your entire body is a gift. So anyway, that would be another ritual of connection, so that everybody's really connected and has the same vision for the show and knows that their part matters.
So when you were doing, you said you were in your 20s and you were a dancer, and you were doing yoga. How did it evolve? So because I want to talk about, you also do like so many other things now. You do, the hypnosis, and you do the sound baths. Was that just like, did you just kind of build and build and build as got more into yoga? And then, yeah, tell us more about that journey, because I want to talk about the sound healing in particular.
Yes. So my first exposure to sound healing was in a Kundalini yoga class. They would always play a huge ass gong at the end, and I would go into other worlds, and my body would react. My nervous system would like jerk here and there, and I just remember feeling and having the experience of the sound vibration and frequency passing through my body and like vibrating my cells, my organs, my bones, like all of it. And how that was so powerful and so healing. And of course, when I began teaching, I loved playing the gong. It was like one of my favorite parts of what I was doing was at the end playing the gong for my students and clients. And so that was my first introduction into sound healing. And then, of course, it starts to get a little bit more popular. The Tibetan bowls have been around for a long time. I don't know how long the crystal bowls have been around. I'm sure some ancients use them. Who knows? But then the crystal bowls, and just starting to explore different sound healing instruments, and then working with different practitioners and doing sound baths together, doing them on my own. So that was one path. And you're absolutely correct. Once you get a little bit, then like, I want to know more. I want to know more. I've been a vegetarian and mostly vegan since, well, I was vegetarian at 12. And so I've been on my own health journey, and it really started because I just love animals so much. I just don't want to eat animals. I just love them. I just want to hug them, And so, but that was like the beginning of a health journey for me. Right. And then, so when I started getting into yoga, it really opens up the doors for like, oh, what are these other holistic ways of healing ourselves? Like you can do it through diet, you can do it through subconscious reprogramming, which is hypnosis, which is EFT, and really just diving in, like, what can we do to support ourselves being our best self? Because I definitely would come up. I mean, and it first started in Kundalini yoga. I'll tell you my big epiphany there, which then led to me really cultivating these practices and modalities that support the shifting of the subconscious. Mm-hmm. So I was in down dog. We were doing it for like 11 minutes, right? 11 minutes is a long time, because after about 2 minutes, you're like, F this, So after 2 minutes, my mind starts like, blah, blah, blah. This is stupid. She's a bitch. My teacher Gurmukh is amazing. I love her. She's in her 70s now, at least, I think. Like, and she's strong. She's so strong. Anyway, but my mind is like, why are we doing this? This is stupid. And I just kept chanting louder. We were chanting, and I just kept chanting louder, and I stayed in the posture. And at the end of 11 minutes, what was revealed to me is that I don't have to listen to the voice in my head that tells me to quit. Mm. And I thought, oh my gosh, where else in my life am I quitting before I have to? Am I listening to that little voice that says, this is stupid. Why are you doing this? Just take a break. You can take a break. It's okay. And yes, we definitely should take breaks. I'm not saying don't take a break, but in this instant, it really showed me my true potential and my true power, which I know that I often don't reach because I'm listening to that voice in my head. And if it's happening to me, I know it's happening to other people. And that's why I wanted to share this with people.
That is so amazing. I love that. It's like, that is just a voice that is in our head that we don't have to listen to. We can say no. And that's what's so cool about doing things that are hard and uncomfortable, because once they're done, like, that boost of confidence that we get is like not like anything else. The fact that you can get, well, first of all, the fact down dog for 11 minutes. I probably would have listened to that voice in my head, but I do think it is the most rewarding feeling. And it is an epiphany too, because I've had epiphanies through coaching where I have realized, yeah, that voice, that's a lot of times just it's nonsense, and I don't have to listen to it. And that's a huge thing for any area of our lives.
Yeah. There's actually a study where I don't know how they did it, but there's a part in your brain that gets bigger if you do things that you don't want to do, but you do them anyway, like taking a cold shower or going to the gym, and you really don't want to do it, but you do it anyway. And this part of your brain gets bigger. And what they noticed is that people who live longer have that bigger part of the brain. So doing hard things, like going against your comfortability, right? Because that's what it is a lot of the time, is like committing yourself to stepping outside of the comfort zone. Do I like taking cold showers? Maybe on a hot day, sure. And do I like doing it every morning? Not really. I gotta psych myself up, but I know it's so good for me. And after it's over, I'm like, oh, I'm so glad I did that. It felt good. So I'm really working on growing that part of my brain.
Okay, I just heard about this too. And one of the things that I heard about was if you enjoy doing it, like for example, I like going to the gym. So for some people, they don't like going to the gym. So my brain, that little, I'll find the name and put it in the show notes because I know exactly what you're talking about. If I went to the gym, that part of my brain would not grow because
Yes.
it's not something that I don't like. It has to
Yeah.
be something that I don't like. So cold showers would be definitely one for me. I don't like that. But then after I do it, that's when that part of my brain will grow. And it's so interesting how this is like can be measured and it's real prevalent in people who live a long time. I think that is it's so cool. And it's a good reminder that, sometimes we're so used to wanting to be comfortable, and it's like getting out. Literally when they say get out of your comfort zone, this is why.
Yeah, really, like everything you truly want is probably outside of your comfort zone.
Yeah.
Like those dreams, those aspirations, like you're gonna have to get uncomfortable. You're gonna need to risk. You're gonna need to fail. I had a business coach, and she's like, if you're not failing, you're not growing. And I really subscribe to that as a recovering perfectionist. I'm always like, done is better than perfect. Just, jump in, do it, jump in the deep end, jump out of the plane, pull the chute on the way down, figure it out.
No, I agree. It's so true. And it's uncomfortable and it sucks. But then like the reward is always so much better too. I love that. What you said about being a recovering perfectionist. I had a coach once tell me, B minus work is better than nothing, like go do the B minus work. And especially if you have those tendencies of like, I can't put this out there because it's not good enough or it might not be perfect. It's better to just do it anyways. And I love that message. So tell us, so we were starting to talk about sound healing, but for people who don't know what it is, and they've never had it, tell us. I mean, sound healing encompasses so many things. So you do sound baths. Maybe you
Yes.
can talk to us about sound healing and just in general and like some examples for us.
Well, in general, if you have two tuning forks of the same frequency and you hit one, the other one will just start shaking. It will just start vibrating. So what that shows is that there's entrainment, that like becomes like. So when you are experiencing a sound, and the frequency will resonate with your body in a way. And so when you're doing sound baths, you have gong attuned to different frequencies, you have bowls, different types of bowls, different frequencies. So the frequencies will then align with the frequency, the organs, muscles, tissues in your body that will align with that will start vibrating, just like the tuning fork. And then what that does is it brings you into alignment. It relaxes the nervous system. It, can lower the blood pressure because it's relaxing the nervous system. There's health benefits to that. Really, it all starts with the relaxing that nervous system. So when you have your sympathetic nervous system, you're the fight, flight, freeze, right?
Yeah.
And that's like the cortisol, and you're just like you're ready to do one of those things. And so that's not when you're healing. That's like when you are in survival, right? All of your energy is going to survival, which unfortunately many people, especially here in the Western world, we are in this fight or flight so frequently because of the thoughts in our head. Not because there's, a bear chasing us, but because of the thoughts in our head. So So through meditation, through sound bath, through these different modalities, you can bring that down. And sound healing is a great one that you don't have to know how it works. You don't have to do anything. You just lay there and receive.
And you teach sound bath, or not teach, but you do groups of people and they come in and they do sound baths with you.
Yeah, I do solo, of course, so it's like, you could have solo or you could have the band. So yeah, and I've done collaborations. Yeah, so collaborative sound baths where you have multiple practitioners who bring all their instruments, and then it's like a cornucopia of sound.
I feel like if you've never had one, for anyone listening, I really recommend it. It's funny what you said about how you just kind of go into another realm. I had one in Joshua Tree, of course, Joshua Tree. And like, did you even go to Joshua Tree if you didn't have a sound bath? But I I remember like the first few minutes I was like, because it was an hour and I have a very like active brain. And I remember thinking, I panicked a little bit. I think I've shared this on the podcast before, but I went into a little bit of a panic because I was like, I don't know if I can do this for an hour. Like lay here and just listen and be still, because that can be difficult for me. And I don't know when it happened, but all of a sudden I was gone. Like I didn't fall asleep, but I mean, and then it was like over. It was so weird. It was the craziest experience. And I just felt amazing afterwards. Like I just like the way that I felt and how relaxed I was. But also like not tired, kind of energized too. It was really incredible. And it was one of those moments where I was like, I don't know if I could do this. Is it weird if I get up and leave? Because I don't know if I could handle this, but it was so beautiful. What do your clients say? Like people who've had the sound bath and like, what's their feedback?
Well, first I want to say, I think it's a really important point that you bring up, that it can be uncomfortable for some people.
Yeah.
Some people are like, whoa, or it's like really intense. And what I find is that when people are able to relax, then it just happens like it happened for you. I get such powerful feedback, and people have emotional releases. They cry. They're like, I don't even know why I cried, but like it brought something up in me, and it's so beautiful. Some people are just like, I really needed that. I've been so stressed out. It's like, it's like a reset, right?
Yeah.
So that's basically, I don't know that I've gotten some feedback about like, it was hard for me at first, and then, it got better. And then some people get a little fidgety at the end sometimes, which is totally understandable because, you've been still for a while.
Yeah.
I really like to allow people, when I bring them out, we do some movement and stretching and wiggling and breathing to bring them out and back into their bodies. And yeah, that's something too that I have noticed, is that people, as relaxed as they are, they're not like zombies, right?
Right. Yeah.
They're still present.
So tell me about the science behind all of this and like the sound and the frequencies and everything like that. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah. So cymatics is one of the best ways to share and prove that frequency affects matter. So if you have a sound plate or a plate that is connected to a device that creates a frequency and it vibrates the plate at the frequency, and you put sand on it, the sand will go into the shape of a geometric pattern, sacred geometry, we could call it, right? So this shows that it's actually sound frequency is affecting matter. And it happens in sand and it happens with water. There is a great video, and I know I sent it to you, but I want all of our listeners to hear about it too, by Nigel Stanford. So Nigel Stanford made a video, and he's a musician, and he created a song and used a sand plate. He used water, and humans, we're like a lot of liquid, right? We're very much made out of water. So to think that a vibrational frequency is not going to affect us, that's crazy. I mean, you even just get to think about, walking into a room, those people that just like when they walk in, they like light up the room. Like that's their frequency, that's their vibration. That's you receiving their vibration. And when you've been around people who like suck your energy, or you get a bad vibe, it's called a vibe because it's a vibration, because it's a frequency that's affecting your body. And your body is innately intelligent. It's so intelligent. And so knowing that your body it's a receptor and it's a generator, it's both. You can receive frequencies and you generate frequencies. Like our brain has, the different frequencies. Delta is sleep. Beta is like walking around. High beta is like anxious. Then there's alpha. Alpha is when you can start to go into that meditative state. Theta, and then gamma is like when it's like euphoria, but you're not. It's interesting. Like nothing has changed, but you're experiencing like rapid brain movement. Anyway,
I love that. It's funny with the how we have a vibration. That's one thing that like I'm very sensitive to people, and I never realized it was that until recently. I would like pick up on somebody and I'd have like a feeling immediately, like I just knew this person or like not judging, but just like I feel it in my body. And I always, and I've talked with people about this where they maybe aren't as sensitive to it as me, but I could pick up on that really, really easily. And I mean, that's what I have so many shirts that say good vibes, but that's what it is, right? Like I can't even count. I literally wear good vibes on my shirt all the time, but it goes back down to that, our vibration. It's so interesting.
Yes. Yeah. It's so vibrational frequency. It's like people, I think when they hear frequency, maybe they're not connecting it to like vibration, because that's all it is. I mean, the only reason we can see or hear or experience everything is because everything's vibrating.
Yes. Oh, so you mentioned earlier, you're like, I've been on a health journey since I was 12. And you and I have talked about this before. Like, we are the type of people who are always interested in like being as healthy as we can be and getting to, you said you want to live into your hundreds. Like, we want to be as healthy as we can possibly be, and doing all of these things and these modalities to achieve that and to, gain that. And I want mine to be more than it is. And I've been working on that, and I do different things to help with that. But as far as like technology that is using this, like what we're talking about, frequency, when it comes to our healing, our health, is there, and I know you've done some things with this, but can you talk to us about some of the ways that we can utilize that?
Yeah. So it's interesting because it's kind of a tricky subject right now.
Okay.
It's like, it's not like approved, right? Like it's not FDA approved. But first I want to just point to where frequencies are already being used in medicine that is very common, like an ultrasound. An ultrasound, they're waves that are used to detect tumors or to look at a baby in the womb. Like that's frequency. Then you have electrodes that stimulate muscles. I remember when I got into my first car accident out here, and I went to the chiropractor, and he hooked up these electrodes on my back to like do stimulation. So those are some ways that are being used that are clearly proven, and this is happening. So then you kind of get into the more, we'll call them experimental, right? Because there is not conclusive scientific proof yet. You only have personal experience, which I have had, but Rife machines. So there was, I don't remember his first name, yikes. But Rife was a scientist and, well, I'll say healer, who created these machines that work by pulsing electromagnetic frequencies to like nullify and alleviate pathogens or other types of diseases. So basically his thinking is that, and this is like, I don't know, I think this might have been from the 40s or the 60s. I'm sorry, I don't have all of all of the details on this, but he believed that every ailment has a frequency, which would make sense because everything's got a frequency, right? And that if you could match that frequency and oscillate a pulse, that you could basically neutralize or eliminate that frequency in the body. And so that's the basis for that. Some do it through a field, and then you can also hold on. Some have these little like bars, these little handles that you hold on to, and you can feel like the zaps into your body, kind of like the electrodes that you put on for muscle stimulation. So I think there's a really great basis for alternative healing through this, which means you wouldn't have to cut someone open. You wouldn't have to do some of the more invasive treatments that are out there that save lives, that absolutely save lives. But this is like this is like forging a new path. And I don't know that a lot of funding or promotion is put into it because it makes it so we don't need that Western medical system so much. So, you know, it can be fairly controversial in that way. So that's
I love
a little bit about that.
Yeah, I mean, it's like you can always start with something non-invasive before you do the invasive. It's the better order. Why not try something?
Mm-hmm.
And of course, they're gonna talk poorly of things that aren't medically profitable. I mean, that's just the way it is, unfortunately. So, and I think that's why you have to, and that's why what I've been on, like, I'm going to do my own research and try things that are going to be less invasive, because what do you have to lose? And what you have everything to gain. Like, there's so many different ways that we can, start. There's so many different places we can start. And then, you always have something else to fall back on. But I still, I feel like, especially with chronic illness that we have, like, Western medicine isn't as great in treating those things as, some of the alternatives that we have. And that doesn't mean that they don't work. And it doesn't mean that there's not science behind them, but there's maybe not funding behind it, or maybe they're not pushing it because there's an agenda that's not being served, unfortunately. Yeah.
100%. And, and that's why I say, you look to personal experiences, right? So my partner, he was diagnosed with Bell's palsy, and we went to an alternative health practitioner that did muscle testing and was like, this is from listeria. And I looked it up, and you can, like, there's a nerve that, like, when you get infected with the listeria, which is a bacteria, it can swell and then cut off the nerves in your face. And we did frequency healing with him. He had a type of Rife machine. There are different types now. And this one was like this long tube with a red light, and it emitted a plasma field that then, I don't know, but, we also had him doing acupuncture and drinking hydrogen water with frequency in it as well. And, he felt so much better and recovered fully, I think within 3 to 4 weeks, definitely by a month, he was recovered. Yeah. And some people, like, don't ever recover, and some people it comes and goes, and he was having a lot of stress when it came on. But it was like, how would we have ever known that it was this bacterial infection that caused it? Because I feel like, from my understanding, Bell's palsy is kind of like a blanket statement that they give you when you have facial paralysis on half of your face. Like, why did it happen? Yeah, we're not exactly sure. So, and he didn't take he went to the doctor and got diagnosed so that he could get acupuncture, because the acupuncturist would not treat him without knowing that it was not a stroke
Oh.
and that it was, in fact, you know, he was diagnosed with Bell's palsy. And so, but it's not like the Western doctor was trying to get to the bottom of it, you know? So that's something about Western medicine that, you know, is, I have an aversion to, is like, why are we treating all the symptoms? Like, wow, let's look a little deeper and let's get to the root. But yes, I'm actually going to make some hydrogen water right now and put some frequency. What's cool about this bottle is that in the top, you can actually put frequency into the water.
That's so neat. Well, you
Yeah.
know, it's back to like your partner. I think it's really interesting because like you said, it's hard to treat something unless you know why it's happening in the first place. Like what's the root cause of this? And that's something that I feel like we have to be our own advocates a lot of the time and try to find somebody who can help us do that, because that's not an easy fix. And I've had personal stories where it's like it wasn't my doctor who helped me at the end of the day, like figure that out. Definitely some like alternative. And I love Chinese medicine too. Like that's been a big part of my life too. But are there any other examples of this that you want to share with us, of frequency?
Well, I'll say this. This is really fun. And I love plants. Okay. So I love plants. If you're looking around my place right now, I've got plants everywhere, big ones, small ones. And there's been studies where they have hooked up plants to a MIDI sensor, which a MIDI is a musical instrument digital interface. Mm-hmm. So when you hook it up, the vibrational frequency of the plant, like it emits the pulses, it will actually make music. So plants are actually making music. You know, so I think it's important to just know that frequency is all around you. And especially like these living things, they're emitting frequencies. You know, like I literally go around to my plants and like stroke their leaves and kind of like hug them and just like let them know how much I care. And there's another study that came out recently too that I heard about, that a plant knows its person. Like it knows the person that takes care of it, because you emit a frequency and they pick up on that, right? And what I heard, and I don't know how they measured this, but is that the plant will sense the frequency of the person once they get in like a certain distance, a certain measurement. And it's like not a super close one. It's kind of, I feel like it's kind of far. So I just think about that, like when I leave the house and when I'm coming home, like, oh, my plants, like if I'm pulling in the driveway, I'm like, I bet my plants know I'm here. They know I'm coming, you know, they feel it. And I feel like that they said like the plants like perked up in some, you know, way that they can measure. It's super, super fascinating.
Well, it's like those studies that we heard about forever ago where there was like, I know that there was one with water and there was one with plants where they had humans speaking negatively and literally the plant would freaking die. You're like, and then you have the ones who are doing what you do as a plant lover and they're saying nice things and they're touching the plant and they thrive. And it's like the things that goes back to like the good vibes, right? And then when you really think about it, like, what about the way we talk to ourselves when we're being mean to ourselves, and or letting other people around us be mean to us and like taking that in? Of course, that is like, so it's such an impact. So I feel like we could talk about this all day. So before I absolutely love this conversation. It's so fun and it's really something to think about. And I loved all of your life experience that you shared with us. I think it's been so much fun. I'm so glad we did this. And I want to let my listeners know how to get in touch with you if they want to work with you or learn more about what you do. Tell us all the things.
Yeah, thanks so much. I appreciate that. And I'm so happy to be here because I'm a big fan of your show. And I think what you're doing is really important in the world, and just really, I'm really happy to know you.
Me too. So, thank you.
Yeah, the best way to get in touch with me is on social media is probably the easiest. So I am SuzE Q Rocks, and I spell it SuzE Q Rocks, ROCKS. So that's an easy way to get in touch with me. And then my website, I have a couple websites, but so Holistic Attunements is my luxury offer. If you want to check that out, you can. It's holisticattunements.com, just spelled how it sounds. And then my other one is careershiftqueen.com, also spelled as it sounds. And there, if you go to the store page, then you can look at all of my offerings that I have there. And of course, there is a way to connect with me there. You can sign up for my balance bundle. It's for your balance bundle, and put in your email, and I'll send you a yoga set, a meditation, and also an interview that I did with an expert on relationships and communication, which is like super primo. So that's a way to be connected, and then we're connected, and those are the best ways.
I'll make sure to link all of this for everybody so they don't have to remember. You can just go to the show notes and click on the links. But thank you so much. I'm so grateful that you were here. This was amazing.
Yay. Thank you so much, Jess, for having me.
Thank you for listening to this week's episode. Please subscribe and review so we can reach more people who want to learn to glow alongside us. See you next time.